What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia, recapping the decade of the 2010s. Joined by my co-host, Dave Martinson. We're going to be talking our songs of the decade here. Dave, when you were putting together your songs of the 2010s, how did you go about it? What was your criteria?
I wanted to capture songs that meant something when they came out, still mean something today. There's a lot of sounds that we don't really get anymore, but I think we can still look back on those songs, examples of those songs now, and appreciate what was accomplished at the time. Funny enough, I have 3 songs from 2012 and 2 from 2011 and 1 from 2010. So that is inherently more than half of the list in the first 3 years of the decade. And of course, I have lots of honorable mentions as well. But yeah, I just wanted to pick songs I think still mean something. You know, I mean, when you're making a list like this, you can make a list that's based on popularity and sales and stuff. That's what Billboard will do. Mm-hmm. I don't see the value in that. The songs are already popular. There's no need to point them out in that way. I think it's more important to focus on what's more important, what's whether that's just quality or influence or a special moment, whatever it might be. On the other hand, I think sometimes people flock to let me pick like an album deep cut as opposed to the obvious choice.
Sure.
I think sometimes that's like overthinking it or maybe getting in the way. You know, sometimes the biggest hit is in fact the best choice from that project. So it kind of depends. But yeah, as with albums, there's so much to consider, you know, so many genres and stuff, and ultimately is a matter of taste. So,
yep,
you know, it's all about if you can make the case to yourself, I guess.
I think there's a lot of different ways you can go about it, and you touched on a lot of them. For me, I wanted to try to get a good mix of songs on here that were influential in different ways. I also wanted to get songs that I felt like were really quality songs, but also maybe said something about when they came out or the decade in some way. So I think we'll see as I go through my list that I was trying to highlight some different things. And actually, I'll kick it off in number 10 here because I think this is a good place to start. So I put Get Lucky by Daft Punk as my number 10 song of the decade. And I wanted to have an EDM song on here. And, you know, when this came out in 2013, there was this real, excitement because Daft Punk is just legendary at this point, you know, in the EDM world. And they go like radio silent for a while and they come back and they will just drop hits and then they'll disappear again. And who knows when we'll see them. But when this song came out, I think it premiered on a commercial or something like that. And it's just 4 bars. It's a guitar lick by Niles Rodgers from Chic. And then you get Pharrell singing over it in falsetto. And it's catchy as hell. And that song dominated 2013 in a lot of ways. And I think it also, in a way, really influenced the way pop and EDM started. Were already kind of merging together, but really I think tried to influence more like dancey sound into EDM pop. And I think this also, in a way, Pharrell was obviously already big at the time, but I think this kind of started to catapult him into more of a star as like just a leading man as himself. But yeah, I wanted to have one EDM song on here, and I felt like this or Latch by Disclosure were the ones that kind of came to mind for me for the decade.
Might have Latch coming up.
Ooh, say. Look at that tease. What's your number 10?
My number 10 is Yonkers by Tyler, the Creator, 2011.
Wolf Haley.
Yeah. So this is his first single from Goblin, first major label single. A lot of times the first thing anyone ever heard, obviously coming off his Bastard mixtape in the early Odd Future project. And what was that, 12 Odd Future songs, I believe it was called. And this Tyler's gone. Wolf Haley, Odd Future Tyler is totally gone. Listen to Flower Boy and Igor. Tyler has evolved. and became a really impressive artist as a result.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be talking about Igor when we talk about our albums of the year.
Yep.
But Yonkers is really important because this, kicking off this ultimately short Odd Future wave, which in a sense is a precursor to the SoundCloud rap era in terms of melding punk energy with hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Yonkers is like a shot out of a cannon, and you get like what early Tyler was saying, whatever the fuck came to his mind, no filter at all, but also making this really raw hip hop that was really resonant with young people at that time. And Yonkers, you listen to the bars now, and it's like, good grief, there's no he would totally disown everything he said at the time, but he meant it seriously then either. But when I just think of that what early hip hop was in 2011s, you have the rise of Drake, Kendrick starting to really pop up on the internet for like the really in the know people, Kanye fresh off his crowning achievement. We also have the new wave starting, and the new wave at that time was Odd Future, was Tyler the Creator. It just is this brash, I don't give a fuck attitude that the new generation was espousing. So I think Yonkers still goes.
Yeah,
still goes, but
good song.
Definitely also a relic of its time.
For sure. But yeah, I feel like I could still rap the whole thing somehow, which is just amazing how it kind of sticks in your brain. Good choice. My number 9, moving on, is Bodak Yellow by Cardi B.
Ooh.
This was my song of the year in 2017. And it's kind of changed a little bit for me. So at that time, it was a song that just like everybody loved. It brought people together, and it's still a banger of a song. It came out before Invasion of Privacy in 2018, but it really put Cardi on the map. But I feel like this also, in a way, was like the kickoff to what has become a bit of a movement in terms of female rap artists really beginning to get the attention they deserve. And I wouldn't say Cardi is the best technical rapper of them all, but man, can she make a hit. And I think Bodak Yellow was the first sign of that. And it also just kind of sticks in your head. And I think any song that can be the guiding ship or the first step towards these female rappers kind of getting that shine is deserving of being on a best of decade list, especially as they've really come on here at the end of the decade with Megan Thee Stallion, and we talk about like Rico Nasty, Cupcake last year. I mean, so many of them. So No Name, Tierra Whack. So number 9 for me was Bodak Yellow. What's your number 9?
Shout out Parson Fontaine. Get some of the points for Bodak Yellow. Number 9 for me is a bit of a vanity pick. This is 212 by Azealia Banks, 2011 as well. Her debut single, and the best song she ever made. And unfortunately, now exists as what could have been for Azealia Banks, because this is a song that also, like Yonkers, is shot out of a cannon at the time, and the energy that she exhibits on the mic on a kind of like dancey beat is almost, or I say it was, ahead of its time. And it's just unfortunate that Azealia, through mainly all of her own mistakes in terms of putting her foot in her mouth constantly, was never able to really keep her career momentum going. But this was something that I think really speaks to the moment. And now when you have viral rap songs that can actually go number 1 in the streaming age, right? We saw that later on with like Bad and Bougie and Black Beatles, right? Like the time has changed. This was before that. But I think this is one of those songs that definitely could have really kind of been an earworm for the whole country if it had come out in a different environment, and kind of just represents like kind of a lost moment, I think, and like an energy that hip hop kind of left behind for a few years as Banks became more and more discredited by the average person due to her own mistakes. So Yeah, 2 and 2. I think you'll see this on some lists. Maybe not this high, but um, kind of just like a perfect storm song when it came out. It's unfortunate that we didn't get more in this ilk.
I actually do not know that song, so I'll have to go back and make sure I educate myself on that. Good choice though. I think you'll get some good feedback on that. Number 8 for me, James Blake's Retrograde from 2013.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't love a ton of the early James Blake stuff. Some of it I really like, some of it not. I really like his newer album from this year. But Retrograde is so expertly crafted that it actually is made in the way that a retrograde moves, the way that the song is constructed, which is just like on another level of like craftsmanship to me. But the song is also just excellent. And it has these like moments where it rises up at the chorus, and you have like these like you have James Blake kind of layering his own voice over itself, and it just really it's earwormy to me, and it sticks in my head. But I think it also speaks to James Blake as an artist, and I think a bit of the craftsmanship of like the EDM. I don't know, is he EDM indie auteur kind of? It's like hard to really put him in a box.
I don't even know if I would say EDM at all.
Yeah. Electronic.
Yeah, electronic. Yeah, that kind of catch-all we use, right? Yeah.
Sure.
hard to classify, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think that also kind of symbolized something of the decade where we've had a lot of people who are like bending the idea of genre and the boundaries of them. So James Blake's Retrograde from 2013, my number 8. What do you got?
I have Them Changes by Thundercat.
Wow.
Definitely, I think this might be the least heard of all the songs I picked. Probably the songs you picked too. Not that Thundercat's an unknown or anything, but just he's more famous for his work he does with other people than his actual own stuff, right? But he has a lot of music out on Brainfeeder. And if you want to listen to that, you want to listen to him. He's a multi-instrumentalist and just a impeccable talent. You can really groove to what he makes. And for me, this I think is just his most accessible song, at least that I've heard from him as a solo artist. It's a really simple groove, but it sounds great. You can go on, I believe it was it BBC Live Lounge, I believe it was, Ariana Grande did a cover of this when she was promoting Sweetener, and it sounds so good. And it's like, yeah, man, Thundercat, I would not mind him having some of his own legitimate hits to himself, because that guy makes just really smooth shit. So Them Changes from 2015.
Wow. Dave, Thundercat on the list. Did not see that coming. Good choice though. My number 7 is Spoon, Inside Out, from They Want My Soul. So yeah, 2014. Spoon, this band that's classic rock band from, I think they're from like Philly or somewhere around there, and they're a tight rock band who plays their instruments expertly and makes well-crafted songs that are pretty catchy. And then they drop Inside Out, which is kind of like the centerpiece of probably their most well-received, at least critically, album. And it just like made me think that Spoon could be so much more than they were. And you kind of see that on Hot Thoughts, where they start to experiment a little bit more with moving into that catch-all phrase, like using electronic sound in there. But the way that they craft this like airy, trancy song that uses harps and all these different kinds of sounds to be just this totally infectious and entrancing track. I come back to it a lot, and I really enjoy this song. I think it's one of the best of the decade, just in terms of craftsmanship. And Britt Daniels, also some great songwriting on here. So Spoon, Inside Out, my number 7. What do you got number 7?
My number 7 is probably your favorite song on the list. Love It If We Made It by the 1975. Came out just last July 2018. from the 1975s. Was that their third album? I forget. But, I didn't love that album. We talked a lot about it, actually, in terms of how we classify them in the evolving definition of rock music in today's world. And a lot of interesting things to discuss. I don't think that's the book is closed on any of those discussions, to be honest, as rock needs to change. But their single from that, Love It If We Made It, I think is just, the catch-all cliche definition that it's the millennial we didn't start the fire. On the merits is kind of an apt description, and it's much more frantic and scattershot, like the lives of millennials. So I actually kind of just find the vibe actually really enjoyable. I know you're not a big Matty Healy guy. You don't like those vocals or anything, but I think in terms of like message and resonance, this is the closest I can get to a rock song, like a straight up song that has made any kind of impact. I think that's gonna last. So number 7 for me. Love It If We Made It.
No comment on any of this. I want to move on to number 6. I wanted to have a Beyonce song on here, and I think there's culturally probably a bigger case to be made for a song like Formation or Run the World Girls. But I also just wanted to pick Drunken Love, amazing song. I just wanted to pick something that I really love from Beyonce, and that's Hold Up from Lemonade. Man, just the way that song bounces and she infuses this like Caribbean type vibe into it, just really stands out. This is a song that was worked on by Ezra Koenig from Vampire Weekend and Diplo. Talk about like a duo of people to be crafting that song with Beyonce. But this also in a way kind of felt like Beyonce, I think capturing the feeling that was emerging. And she's always been a female empowerment artist, but I think kind of capturing this idea, like in the music video pairs this well, of this woman who is just like done taking it and like stepping up and like kind of like breaking the mold, not taking that like shit from guys anymore. The music video, she's like destroying everything with a bat as she walks around, and the song comes off as very sweet, but like really has like this biting undertone to it, and it feels like it just kind of encapsulates, I feel like, what Beyonce did really well as an artist, which is, I think, like empower women to not have to be in that mold anymore. So I felt like Hold Up from Beyonce was my number 6 song of the decade. What do you got number 6?
My number 6 is a song that I just teased before, Latch by Disclosure. Ba-ba. And this is the best EDM song of the decade. You can make a case for Levels, which really kicked it off. I think in light of Avicii's passing, I think everyone looks back pretty warmly on that song. But Disclosure, and again, we're eagerly anticipating that next album from them. They've only released 2, but when Latch comes out in 2012, it kind of represents this new style for electronic music. The bro step wave is beginning to crest. The trap domination of EDM is being the crest, and ultimately EDM is going to go in a direction that's not very interesting, right? We're going to see the domination of people like Martin Garrix and Kygo and, just stuff that's really, and Marshmello, of course, music that's just not very deep and only just made for the playlist, made for the radio. It's not that special. It's pretty boilerplate stuff. But Disclosure, actually, just through more detailed production and more inspired samples and stuff, is, I think, making electronic music that's much more, I think, valuable and actually like kind of lasts after it comes out and like the radio wave ends. And Latch also doubles as the flag wave for Sam Smith. Talk about inspired features. You have an amazing vocalist that no one has really heard of before when you put this out, and it's kind of just like a double whammy in that regard. So Latch from Disclosure. I believe it was their debut single. I'm not sure, but yeah, 2012. It's been a while now.
Yeah, Latch was going to be on my list, like I talked about earlier, for all the reasons you talked about, but mostly like you have maybe one of the best EDM duos and one of the best singers of the decade, just kind of rising out from this single, just bursting on the scene. So huge moment. My number 5, talking about someone bursting on the scene, Lorde, Royals, 2013.
Oh, nice.
Not only a song that's just a really well-made pop song that was everywhere when it came out, but a song that kind of talks about the plight of normal people, people that want to make it and want to make it big, but their ambitions are not what are seen in regular celebrity or maybe people dream of, and I think it also just brings about Lorde, who we just talked about, dropped one of our albums of the decade, is probably one of the, I'd say, best pop stars that we have out there right now in terms of actual quality.
Yep.
And she's unique, and this song is unique for a pop song.
She was 16 when it came out.
And you think about who's big this year with Billie Eilish. It feels hard to imagine someone like Billie Eilish being as popular as she is now without Lorde and being definitely who she was. So big moment in 2013. Who do you got number 5?
Number 5 for me is ultimately a very simple choice. Teenage Dream by Katy Perry, 2010.
Best pop song of the decade.
It's just pop perfection.
Yep.
And that bridge is the best bridge of the decade. Mm-hmm. Like pure iconic shit from the fucking get-go. And this is this, like, it wasn't her first hit. We had heard California Girls and stuff. And even before that, like I Kissed a Girl, Hot and Here, or Hot and Cold, right? Like she had a lot of hits already. But when this comes out, like, yeah, Katy Perry, and like, not that she made the song only on her own. She had a lot of help with creating this, definitely a label focus. But Katy Perry was a force for the first half of the decade in a major way in terms of just making like bombastic mainstream pop music that is frankly just undeniable stuff, And I just kind of been disappointed ever since Witness, and what I've gotten since then, that we haven't been able to get back to this, is because it's like Katy Perry was just like untouchable for a few years, and I think this is really what started that. So yeah, don't have much to say. It's just pure pop perfection. Teenage Dream.
Yeah, well said. It really is pop perfection. Great choice. Number 4, Kendrick Lamar's "All Right," from
nice.
To Pimp a Butterfly, which we just talked about on our best albums of the decade list. Yeah, I mean, "All Right" just feels like an anthem for Black people, for minorities, for people who are struggling, and I think it perfectly encapsulates what that album represented. But I think also I think how a lot of people during the decade felt, that "All Right" isn't about fixing things, but just surviving, moving forward, keeping on. So the fact that it's a banger of a song helps, but just it felt like it needed to be on here. So my number 4, "All Right" by Kendrick Lamar. What do you got number 4?
Number 4 for me is "Exo Tour Life" by Lil Uzi Vert. Similar to "Love It If We Made It," I think it's just a song that really resonates with a certain generation of people.
Yep.
This was a song that Uzi just kind of threw out on SoundCloud, a bunch of other songs. It was supposed to just hold people over before "Love Is Rage 2" came out in the summer of 2017. But, the "All My Friends Are Dead," "Push Me to the Edge," Zanny's "Take the Pain Away." It just had a lot of lyrics that really resonate with people, especially young people. And, like I think, what was the jargon at the time? It's like, it's Gen Z Stairway to Heaven, I think I remember hearing. A little hyperbolic, but funny to think about. But yeah, I think Uzi, with this song, Uzi became someone who people are like, oh wait, there's actually a lot more under the hood with Lil Uzi Vert than just a fun delivery and manic energy out of Philly, right? There's way more going on here. I think this song is stand the test of time. You know, and I think it's one of the more important hip hop songs from this new class over the last few years. I put this right up there with maybe you can maybe pick like a Cardi song or something, but this I think is, you know, in terms of, and they also, I mean, if you go to any shows for really anyone hip hop at all, if a DJ plays this one, the warm people up, this gets a huge pop incredibly fast. And you think about people saying every lyrics live in a setting like that, and then you think about what these lyrics are and how dark this song actually is. You can just tell it's made a big impact on people. So
yeah, good
Tour
choice.
Life.
My number 3, I talked about also on our albums of the decade list, Dance Yourself Clean by LCD Sound System. Just a awesome dance rock song. It has one of the best drops halfway through any song that I can ever remember. Kid Cudi used it on a mixtape, which I think speaks to the impact it had in many realms.
Guess I've heard the song then.
You definitely have. Only the first part of it though, so you didn't hear the drop. And yeah, just overall, I think that there's a lot of good songs off that LCD record, but that just feels like it also just encaptures this feeling like this, that, you know, everybody's holding on to all these struggles, all these things that they deal with, all these things that kind of hamper them down, and sometimes you just need to go out and just let it all loose. And I think that drop embodies that perfectly. So Dance Yourself Clean, my number 3. What do you got number 3?
Number 3 for me is Redbone by Childish Gambino.
Wow.
Donald Glover. Came out fall 2016, right before Awaken My Love came out. And this kind of just represents my overall thoughts about Donald Glover evolving as an artist and like the maturation that had, you know, for his music. Redbone, which is the second single after Me and Your Mama, which is also an amazing song. But like when it comes out and you're like, wait a minute, DG's gonna make all this like Afrofusion shit. He's gonna make all this soul music now. This is fucking wild. And newsflash, it's a lot better than a lot of the struggle bars that he used to do. And you know, you think about the legacy this song has had, an amazing drop in Get Out at the beginning of the movie, you know. When he performs it, it gets a huge rendition from the crowd. I think people just love this shit, but it's unlike a lot of other stuff that has come out since then. Even if you separate his hip hop nature and just think about like what Redbone is, it's really just a throwback song. But it's one of those songs that's really like stuck with me, lasted with me since it's come out, and I always revisit it pretty frequently. So, you know, Redbone, it's a banger, but it's a unique banger.
A surprising choice, but inspired as well. It's a really good song. My number 2, moving on, the song we also just talked about, Kanye West, Runaway. Like you said, this could be Kanye's best song, and man, him and Pusha on this, especially when they perform at I think it was the VMAs when he first like performed this live, and he had the mixing board and everything. It just really stands out as a moment, and I think it encapsulates again something we talked about, which is, you know, the idea of like embracing your flaws, embracing the horrible parts of you, and some of the songs we talked about on the list are about embracing that part and how you move forward, and this one's more about like just sitting in that muck and embracing how much of a piece of shit you are. And this song does that perfectly. It's like 8 minutes, but the whole time you're enthralled. I mean, one of my we've both seen Kanye live, and for those who haven't, I would recommend it just because it always is an experience. But
now with Joel Osteen.
But there's this one very vivid memory I remember on the Yeezus tour of him with the mask on, and he walks out to the stage and he just presses the first key and the whole crowd just goes crazy. And it just kind of speaks to the level of excitement that's around this song, and just I think that also speaks to just the impact and how it resonates with so many people. So Runaway, my number 2 song of the decade. Dave, give me
Nice.
number two.
Yeah, so I think I was thinking this before. Yeah, we have completely different top tens. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Um, my number two is from Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City, Money Trees, featuring J Rock. I wanted to pick uh, a Good Kid song, considering I put To Pimp a Butterfly on my album list. I was thinking,
Mhm.
Mad City's the banger, and there's other singles like Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe and stuff, but swimming pools. But Money Trees, I think, has always been my favorite song from the album, and also really, really rocks live. But yeah, I think this is from a storytelling perspective, this has just been always been my favorite Kendrick song, and J Rock's feature is incredible. So
Mhm.
yeah, I wanted to go with this one. Bit of an album cut. I think All Right. You picked All Right. That's
Yeah.
more of a universal choice. Also an amazing song, but
Mhm.
yeah, one with Money Trees.
It's a good one. Good choice. All right, we're on to our songs of the decade. My number one, we talked about her just this past year, 2018. Robyn, Dancing on My Own from 2010.
Damn.
My top three, all from the year 2010, which I find
Wow.
very interesting. But yeah, Robyn, Dancing on My Own. To me, this other than Katy Perry, this is as close as you can get to a perfect pop song. It's infectious. It's meaningful. Um, I think it resonates with the decade, and we talked about people like Lorde, Billie Eilish, Kanye West. These people who I think embrace their flaws, and this song kind of does that as well. And also, it probably had one of the most amazing impacts I've ever seen on a crowd when a bunch of people in the subway just were all moshing together on a subway after a Robyn concert, jamming out to this song. You don't find much joy in the subways of New York City, Dave, and any song that can make people feel that way, I think, has to be on
Depends who
this
you
list.
ask.
I suppose so. But yeah, Robyn, I think, also an artist that gets a lot of like critical attention, but I think in terms of popularity, at least here in the States, she hasn't, at least from what I can tell,
No,
hasn't
you're
gotten
right.
as much as she should. And she's so quality, and this song is just like pretty close to perfection. So my number one.
Nice.
What you got?
So my number one, similar thinking to Kendrick. I picked Blonde for my Best Frank album and put that on the albums list. So therefore, I wanted to pick a song from Channel Orange instead. So I picked Thinking About You.
Hmm.
I believe this song won the Grammy. You can make a case for this or Pyramids. Depends which one you choose. I didn't overthink this one like I did with Kendrick. And I think this is the best song on Channel Orange because it's I think it's the easiest to understand Frank's pain, Frank's message, in terms of heartbreak and emotion that he does. I mean, all of Channel Orange is the landmark album in terms of representing like transparency in mainstream R&B
Mm-hmm.
for LGBT people. And Thinking About You, I think, is just the best example of that. That's probably why it became the most popular song on the album. So, yeah, man. Frank,
Good
a lot of
choice.
Frank love on this. But
God deserve it though. He's a
yeah.
great artist, and certainly this decade he's owned. So good choices. Any honorable mentions you wanted to shout out here?
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking, for the albums, Kid Cudi's Man on the Moon 1 came out in the fall of 2009. So it misses the cutoff just barely, right? But I just want to shout that out because that's an album that had a profound impact on pop and hip hop in the decade to follow. So shout out that. Similar thought. The Fame Monster from Lady Gaga came out a few months at the last few months of 2009 as well. And Bad Romance is one of my favorite songs of all time. That song's incredible. So again, just misses. But in terms of other songs to shout out, you mentioned Formation from Beyonce. That was a good one. You mentioned Bodak Yellow, which I had on here. I'd shout out Bad Girls by MIA. I'd shout out Sorry by Justin Bieber. Again, just thinking of the good pop music. From Lorde, I picked Team myself. think of all those viral songs that actually were also good songs, like Black Beatles, Bad and Bougie, Bobby Shmurda's song. That whole wave is now really taken off, but all those songs I think are really important. From Tonight, Higher Ground, EDM hasn't had the best decade from a re-listenability standpoint, but that song's right there. The other ones we've mentioned earlier. North North by Vince Staples.
Yeah.
In terms of West Coast vibes, that's right there. In terms of listenability, actual message, and being part of a bigger piece, which was Summertime '06, a great album. Yeah, I mean, you think we can look back at some of the albums we picked, and there's lots of great songs on those albums. But yeah, I think that's about it for me. I guess you could shout out Someone Like You from Adele, some of the big Taylor songs, But yeah, I think we got it covered.
Yeah, just a couple I wanted to give a shout out to. Chandelier by Sia, I felt like was a really good song that was hard to leave off. Someone Like You by Adele. I kept kind of going back and forth between like The Weeknd by SZA and Drew Barrymore, just because I love Drew Barrymore so much, but I think The Weeknd is probably the better song. Boot Up, just because it's so infectious and really good, like R&B pop song. And then I also wanted to give a shout out to Mitski. I thought either Nobody or Your Best American Girl easily could have made a top 10 list. She's another artist that doesn't get the love she deserves. So that's it, Dave. The decade's over in music. How close to the new Harry Styles come to your list?
Just missed, not quite my tempo. What was
that? Please check out our other...
A fine line between the list.
Dave, maybe we should all just be nice to people. Maybe we should all just be nice to each other.
Stay tuned for that stuff. Actually, by the time you're hearing this, we've already reviewed the album. So youtube.com/nostalgiapod.
Yeah. Hey, Dave gave it the shout out. Also go on Twitter at nostalgiapod and soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod as well. Give us your best of the decade. Hit us up on any of these places. Let us know what we got wrong or right or what you would change. And yeah, we appreciate you, and we'll catch you in the 2020.